Hello, guys, and welcome to Life Survival Guide. My name is Rodrigo, and I'll be your host. Today, we're going to talk about the 50, 30, 20% rule. This is your survival guide. Before we start, we have to give credit where credit is due. Elizabeth Warren is the current senator of Massachusetts, and she was a law school professor that popularized this rule. This rule states that you should divide your after-tax income into three different portions: one of 50%, one of 30%, and one of 20%. Each portion has a specific mission that has to accomplish. Now, let's dive into all the different portions. The 50%. In this 50% portion, you have to put everything that is required for your survival. So, for example, your rent or your mortgage. Because if you don't have a house or an apartment where you're gonna live, here you should put also your car payments. You should put your food, and by food I mean food that you cook at home, not food that you go out to eat with your friends on Thursday or something like that. Here you should also put your health insurance and your car insurance because those are required by law. Also, now hear me out. This part is important. Here you're gonna put minimum car payments, just what is required. So your payments don't go to collection or whatever. Minimum car payments, minimum loan payments, minimum. All right, we're gonna get into that later. Now, the next portion, the 30% portion. This is our fun portion. This is not something that is required for your survival. So, for example, here we can put internet and cable. That is not required for your survival. Although it's something that you want as a person. Me, as for example, I do not require cable. I do not watch TV. I only use internet, right? But still, that will be something for me to include on the 30% portion. Now we're gonna also put phone payments, the streaming services like Disney Plus, Netflix, whatever. Those are fun stuff that you want. Those are not required for your survival. Okay? Now, the 20%. This 20% is the part that I love. Here, you're gonna allocate money that is for your savings accounts, for your retirement plan, and for debt repayment. Hear me out. Debt repayment. I have an accent. Debt. I know that you remember now that on the 50% I told you that you're gonna put minimum in school. Just the minimum car payments, debt repayments. But now, on this 20% of our income, we're gonna use it to overcome those economic obstacles that we have throughout our lives. So, for example, if you have a big debt, you will want to allocate that money, most of that money, to pay that debt. If you have a fund for emergencies, right? An emergency fund. An emergency fund is important. So let's say, for example, you have a big debt and you don't have an emergency fund. Those 20%, first you're gonna use it to build an emergency fund that has to cover at least 1 or 2 months of all your expenses, all your monthly expenses. I guess you can include some stuff from the 30%. Not all, but some stuff, because if you're in an emergency, you're not gonna go out with your friends to eat, right? So after you build that rainy day fund or that emergency fund, now you're gonna allocate that 20% into debt repayment. You also will like to allocate stuff a little bit to your 401k, if you have one. If you don't have one, maybe a Roth IRA. You can open an account on your local bank, on your local credit union. Yeah. Now let's see how I apply this rule into my life, so you can get a better perspective of how to use it. But before we do that, I really highly suggest that you backtrack your expenses. That's a must, because after you backtrack your expenses, you know exactly where each dollar that you have is going to. If you don't know how to backtrack your expenses, I have a good video about that. I'll leave a link in the description or up there anywhere so you can go watch it. I make $2,578 a month. The 50% of that, which is the first portion, it is $1,289. The 30% is $773 with some cents. The 20% is $515. Knowing this, I know that the sum of my rent, utilities, insurance, car payments, and groceries should not exceed $1,289. I also know that the sum of my phone payment, my cable, internet, Netflix subscriptions, dining out should not exceed $773. And for last, I also know that I should be saving around $515. Guys, so that's how I applied the rule into my life. Now it is your turn to check it out. If you apply this rule into your life, you might realize that you're spending too much money into certain habits and you might have to cut them, but that's okay. As long as you do it, you will find yourself in less situations that you will be economically impaired. So please make sure that you always know where your money is going. If you don't know how to backtrack your expenses, I will leave the link in the description below. And if you have any questions, I will be really happy to answer them. So please leave them below.